What's up, everybody? It's Tyler with Hook Sets Are Free, and it is 9:15 p.m. here on Thursday, July 21st, 2022. Hope everybody's doing well. Whether you're watching this on the replay or you might be in here live or jumping in live here in a couple of minutes. I've got a couple of things to go over this evening. I've got the second half of my Tackle Warehouse package that I ordered over 4th of July, 2.5 weeks ago. And then I've actually got a surprise that probably won't be a surprise to you by now if you've seen the um, the thumbnail to this live stream, and that's that my parents went out to Oregon last week to visit some family and came back with a small little tackle box of some lures of my mom's grandpa. So my great grandfather, and these are lures he was using from anywhere in, could be as early as the 30s or 40s, or as late as maybe like the 70s. But these are very old school lures, and I'm excited to show them to you. And then we can chat about a little bit of anything else. Obviously, ICAST is going to be um, the main topic of conversation this week and kind of for the foreseeable future. We went over a little bit of that last week, but I've got another article pulled up from Wired to Fish that was posted the other day. And then if you've been paying attention at all on Instagram or on YouTube, you would have seen a bunch of footage of people, going around to different booths, as well as I think even the Best in Show awards were already announced, but those are never really a big deal, and quite frankly weren't this year either, unfortunately. So we don't even really need to discuss those. But I see Daniel is in here. What's up, Daniel? How you doing tonight, man? Adam Odin in the house. What's up, brother? We got 7 people in here already. Do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button real quick, and drop a comment in the live chat section. Introduce yourself, and let's make this a little bit of a conversation while I do some show and tell, if you will. So you guys tell me in the comments, do you want me to show you the second half of my Tackle Warehouse order or the old school lures of my great grandfather first? Neither one is a huge show and tell. So, doesn't quite matter to me, but I'll leave it up to you guys. Cheers. Happy Thursday evening. Dave Jolly in the house. What's up, Dave? How you doing tonight? Daniel says just got home from fishing a couple minutes ago. Well, what's up, Daniel? Did you catch any fish? How was your time on the water? Tom Mix, my man, how you doing? I'm going to wait for you guys to tell me which of these I should open and show you first. Small second half of my, I don't want to call it a lackluster Tackle Warehouse order, but just a small Tackle Warehouse order that I placed over 4th of July. I've got the other couple things in that box, and then I've got a small tackle box that I just inherited from my great grandfather as a little souvenir from my parents' trip out to visit some of my mom's family in Oregon. So which do you want to see first? Adam says I caught 14 yesterday on a single Z-Man 3-inch minnows. Yeah. First of all, congrats on a successful day on the water. But those Z-Man minnows are a great little swim bait for sure. Daniel said it was good. No tanks, but I did get a decent amount of fish. I hear you. That's been kind of the deal for me when fishing during the daytime, as of late. In the last couple of weeks at least, quality has not quite been there unless it's been at nighttime. Thank you very much, Tom. Yeah, I am doing well. Thank you for asking, or wishing me well at the very least. Man, you guys are not telling me, so I'm going to hold back on the old school lures since you didn't mention, and we'll just go straight into the second half of the Tackle Warehouse order. There's only a couple of things in this box, so We should be able to fly through this pretty easily. And I do have a short update on my fishing this past week. There's a lot that I probably am not going to be able to totally remember in the way of what I used, but I've only caught a handful of fish, so that'll make it easy. I did go up and do some fly fishing for trout this past weekend. Was up there in the mountains with some friends celebrating a friend's birthday, and helped teach him how to fly fish. It was his 46th birthday, and he had never fly fished before, and taught him how, and he hooked up with 4 rainbows on the fly, as well as a couple other trout on a little Yozuri floating jerkbait. So had a pretty good time catching trout over the weekend, and then I've been out twice this week, once at night and twice in the day as well. So 3 sessions, but Monday night I went out and I was only out there for like an hour, not even an hour and a half before the cops showed up. It was like crazy busy at the place that I was fishing. There were a million people out. Everybody had headlamps on, and someone must have called the cops because I've never had the cops show up there. But this is one of those places where apparently it shuts down at sundown. So did have to leave there at like 11 p.m. But first fish came on the Savage Gear Duratech Toad. So that's a bait that I showed you guys just recently. Let's see here. So I gave it a shot in this white color, and I will say I like it, but I don't love it. I had really high expectations for it, but I can almost tell already that I'm going to be a much bigger fan of the Goat Toads. And the reason is that bait that I used was trashed after 1 fish. So that is a little disappointing. And I can explain why. Because ordinarily you would expect, if it's got an elastomer type of material, that this guy is going to last a long time. But like I showed you when I unboxed this thing, it has a very deep belly slot, which runs almost all the way through the bait. And then on top of that, it's got this tapered head down to the body. And this guy right here is not very thick. So you might have to use a specialized hook to avoid the nose blowing out. But it did for me after just 1 fish. And the main reason is that this belly slot runs all the way up almost to the top of the nose. So when you thread your hook, just an EWG style hook in here, it automatically wants to come out here. So there's just a very short portion of the nose that blows out fairly easily and renders this thing completely useless. So I was not super jazzed about that. When you do the math, these things are like, $9 for a 3-pack. And I like the Duratech stuff for sure. And at first I thought I would really like the belly slot on that, because obviously it's going to mean for, a higher hookup ratio, whereas sometimes you can miss fish on toads. But that was an unfortunate thing to experience, is just how quickly that nose blew out of that bait. So a little bit disappointed about that. And then I did manage to catch another fish on a swim jig. I was using that Evergreen Grass Ripper in a chartreuse and white color, and one of those Kitech Swing Impact swim baits. Not the Swing Impact Fat, but the standard Swing Impact that's got a little bit wider of a kick to it. Also, I went out Tuesday morning, and then this morning, super, super hot. So they weren't eating anything moving. So I was throwing a max scent hit worm, caught a couple fish on that, and then throwing a shaky head, uh, caught a couple fish on that as well. So a pretty slow week for me, but yeah, that's about it. Just six or so bass, and then maybe a dozen or so trout over the weekend, both on the fly and on a spinning setup using just a little floating jerk bait. So let me catch up on these comments real quick. Uh, yeah, you guys are saying it's been super hot. Totally hear you. Same here. It's been high 90s every single day. Tom says I've been watching a lot of iCast videos. Yeah, I think that's probably true for most of us. Uh, kind of want to live vicariously through those who are there, and also just catch up on what we didn't find out through the original preview that was on the Bassmaster website. So I do have the Wired to Fish preview pulled up that was posted just a couple days ago, and then I've been binging a little bit of content through Tackle Warehouse, and then today through the Hookup Tackle. So I am with you, man. Daniel says a bait that you got and I picked up after seeing it has been fire for me the last two trips, and out on two different lakes. The Rhythm Wag gets bit. Yeah, the Rhythm Wag is one that I'm excited to use. This is a new bait on the market. Jackall is, claiming that it's an iCast release, but really it's been out for now a month or two. But if I'm not mistaken, you had sent me a picture showing that you got the same size, Daniel, right? And when I opened this, I immediately thought this is a small bait. I should have gotten the 4.5-inch size just for the sake of versatility. Now, I do see this being a pretty solid drop shot bait and maybe like a hover strolling type of bait, but not much aside from that. So glad to hear that you've been crushing them on the Rhythm Wag, though. We got Rich in the house. What's up? How you doing, Rich? Still need to get caught up on iCast coverage. Yeah, I hear you. Day job's been killing you. Yep. Matt, what's up, dude? How you doing tonight? Matt made it. Adam says the Megabass Spark Shad 5-inch or the Z-Man Diesel Minnow 5-inch. They're different baits for sure. So the Spark Shad has a little bit more stable of a swim to it, and the Diesel Minnows has a little bit more rock to it. The profile is just drastically different. So I can show you both of them right now and just show you that the Diesel Minnows is just like the 4-inch. It's a tall and skinny bait. Okay. Now it's got a decent amount of action on it, and it's a solid swim bait. But I see it as a bait that more often than not, I'm going to rig it on a jig head, just because of the action that it has and the place that I want to fish it. So usually I'm going to fish it a little bit lower in the water column. There's that 3-inch minnows you were just talking about a minute ago, Adam. Freaking love that bait. But let's talk about the 5-inch Spark Shad for a second. So the Spark Shad, on the other hand, is a very wide bait, and it's keeled. Okay, so it has a little bit more of a taper or a triangular shape to it, and it's got these stabilizer fins, and it's more solid of a bait. But despite that, I still rig this thing on a belly weighted swim bait hook most of the time. I find that I fish this all through the water column, but usually more in the upper or middle portion of the water column. And so it kind of just depends on what you want to do with the bait. You could use that diesel minnows as a trailer on a little bit more of like a bigger swim jig or a chatterbait, even though the 4-inch is really best for that. But um, yeah, I like the Spark Shad a little bit more as a standalone swim bait. Find it to be just a little bit more versatile. But as I've talked about before, I kind of prefer the 6-inch Mag Draft over the 5-inch Spark Shad. And if you can find them, I would kind of prefer the 7-inch Spark Shad over both of those baits. But for no particular reason, it's been discontinued. So you're going to have a hard time finding them. Daniel says, with that Rhythm Wag, throw it weightless on a screw lock. What kind of screw lock are you throwing on there? A 1/0 owner twist lock? That would have to be a tiny screw lock hook, dude. Jermaine in the house. What's up, dude? You said you'll probably fall asleep on here. No problem. Bruce Nichols in the house. What's up, Bruce? How you doing tonight? Okay, so let's actually talk about some of these baits. There was one other thing that I wanted to mention. I tried out the other night when I was fishing. I tried out the Nishini Abino, and this is the 110 size. You know, apparently they've got a smaller version of it, and I could definitely see a time and a place for it as well. But this 110 size Abino is a pretty freaking sweet bait. I threw it stock, so I did not do any of the modifications that you can. You know, it comes with this smaller blade in the package, as well as a weight. So you can convert this thing from a top water to a sinking bait by attaching the weight on there. You can flip these props around to create a different sound, but this blade swings and knocks against the bait. Now, it is a super squeaky bait straight out of the pack. I did not know what to expect, and I was very impressed. So it honestly bridges the gap between a buzz bait and a whopper plopper or a traditional prop bait. But technically, it's none of those. It is a very loud bait, super squeaky, and I was really impressed with it. Although I didn't catch anything on it because I was only out there for like an hour and a half, and I was throwing like 3 different things, and by then I had already gotten bit on the Savage Gear Duratec Toad, and I already was. But yeah, I wanted to give that bait a real shot, and I really like it. So I'll probably even look into getting a smaller size of it and see how it performs as well. So I've only got a couple things in this package. This is just the remainder of my Tackle Warehouse order that I placed on 4th of July. So sadly, because of what I just told you guys with my first impression of the Duratec Toad, I do have another pack of these. This is in the green pumpkin chartreuse color. So really like the look and the packaging of the bait, everything like that. But I don't know if it's the hook and this bait keeper on here, or if it's just the belly slot in the bait. But I am not a huge fan. I'll show you one more time that this thing is all the way through. I mean, so it's very thin. You can see me through that bait as I stretch it. So the hookup ratio is good, but they ran this thing way too close to the nose of the bait. So that is all you're left with there. And so as you run your hook through here, you're kind of messing up the nose. And as you set the hook and this thing goes up the line, it blows out the nose of this toad way too easily. And I'm not a big fan of that. So I'm not exactly sure the best way to fix that problem, but it's got a decent action. I think maybe using a belly weighted hook could allow for a slightly more stable action than what you just get stock on this thing, because it runs best at a slow to medium speed, and if you run it too fast it will roll over on you. So um, just a word to the wise. All right, Adam. Yeah, on the 5-inch spark shad, uh, yeah, you can get away with. They don't make a 5-aught beast. You could throw a 4-aught. You could throw a 6-aught. Um, or Trocar does make a 5-aught in their what do they call it? Magnum swim bait hook. But yeah, 5-aught is really ideal on that. Bruce is killing some cupcakes right now. Nice. Oh, Dave. All right. Thanks for the heads up. Yeah, I didn't know that the smaller version was a spy bait and not necessarily a floater straight out of the package. Interesting. Jermaine says, just got a Berkeley Chapo. Gonna do some night fishing tomorrow night. Chapo is a pretty good bait. A little bit of a different pitch of sound than a whopper plopper, but essentially same deal. My fish have gotten conditioned to the sound of a plopper and a Chapo, so I've gotten away from throwing it, say for the last year or so, and haven't gotten bit on it as well the last say 2 seasons as I used to. It used to crush for me. So Matt, no. Okay, so no, they just made a floating jerk bait. I don't think it's like a wattle bat. It's their Erie darter, but in a floating version. I did see that on the Hookup Tackles uh, new video, and it looked interesting for sure, but not like a wattle bat. He mentioned that it sits nose out of the water and really is just meant to either be a dead sticking bait or to work down a little bit and then let it dip back up to the surface. Um, and maybe we're talking about a slightly different bait. I'm not sure. Daniel, there's no way you can fit a 3-aught in this 3.5-inch bait. Are you being for real right now? Rich, you might be right. Sorry to have offended or freaked any of you guys out by spreading the toad wide open. Daniel says spread that slot. Um, Matt, I was just using the regular one that comes with the bait. And in retrospect, I think using a screw lock with a belly weighted hook would allow it to last longer and run a little bit more true. So I think that that's really going to be the deal, um, as opposed to a standard EWG or the one that comes stock in the pack. But I don't know for sure. Yeah, Brandon, the Nishini stuff looks good for sure. That's a great question, Tom. I don't know that I've tried Mend It on anything elastomer before, because I've never had the problem of a bait just getting destroyed on the first fish that I've caught with it. So it could melt the bait completely. Or if you just use a little bit of Mend It, it might seal it back up. But the issue is that it blew the nose out. And I don't know exactly how repairable that is with Mend It. All right, so I've got just 3 other things in here. One, you guys have already seen me show before, but I did see that the sleeper gill was back in stock at Tackle Warehouse at the time of this purchase on the 4th of July. So, this is a few weeks back. And I just decided to get one in a perch color. So I've got one in that secret gill. It's more of like a almost morning dawn bluegill, and then this one in just a straight perch pattern. And it is quite a bit more translucent than you would think, but interesting nonetheless. So same specs, same one size fits all with the sleeper gill. It is a 3.2 inch, 3/4 ounce bait. That is what you get. So I don't have a lot of anything to report about it just yet, but yeah. Brandon says, "Are there lures in all those drawers?" Yeah. So I've got boxes in most of these drawers. Now they're not like stacked to the brim, but yeah, I could still fit another 10 boxes or so. I've got a bunch of smaller ones in there. Like this side is all soft plastics. These are hard baits. But anyway, last two things in this Tackle Warehouse package are the new Beast Coast Blade Runner. This is their chatterbait trailer that they released early spring this year, or I guess revealed at one of the fishing shows in the Northeast, and have kind of been keeping it quiet, but not all that much. And this is one that I've been excited to try. I honestly think it'll probably be as good or better than the new Berkley Power Stinger. This looks like it fits perfectly on the back of a chatterbait. It's got a little bit of this ribbing like you'd see from a Yamamoto Seiko, and then it's got this split tail to where apparently you could remove the top or remove the bottom, and it will change the action of the bait, the way that it rides in the water column. So I'm excited to try these. I think they're 4.25 inches, 4.15, which is kind of a weird size, but just picked up 2 packs of those. This color is called Pumpkin Gill, and then the other one is just a straight pearl white. They call it Pure Pearl. So yeah, that does it. Hang tight for me 1 second. My daughter's right behind the screen. If I could mute myself, I would. I am going to. Hold on. All right, my bad about that, guys. Yeah, Jermaine, I totally agree. I have so many chatterbait trailers too. It's kind of like Ned rig baits. Like I've just got a million of them. but it still doesn't stop me from wanting to try the latest and greatest, new ones. So you're right. Beast Coast does make solid stuff. Um, I totally agree. Brandon says I found a few 7-inch spark shad. Scoop those up quick. Nice, dude. Yeah, that's a great bait. Throw that out on Owner Beast ADOT, and that's the deal. Now, Rich had to get out of here before these vintage baits. That might have been a mistake, Rich. If you're still in here, I'm gonna showcase some old lures that I got from my great grandpa just a couple days ago. My mom took a trip out to Oregon and came back with some souvenirs for me. So, pretty cool deal here. All, just a small tackle box and a couple of loose lures here. And I will show you guys what we got. Some are oddballs and some are super cool. So, G Fawn in the house. What's up, G Fawn? Guys, we'll talk about iCast just right after this. So, first thing, I'd never heard of this lure, but this is a super antique bait, and there's two of them here. One of them's in this tiny package, but one is in the original package with the original paper in there. So this is a bait that's probably from, I don't know, the 1950s, and it's in mint condition. Check this thing out. I don't know if you guys have ever seen a bait like this. But check this out. It is called the Barracuda Super Dude with a 4-aught hook. It's from Florida. So really, it's got a saltwater hook on it. I know nothing about this bait other than the fact that I looked these up just to find out more information about it. And looks like these things are running for like 75 to 100 bucks on eBay. So absolutely bonkers. And I doubt that I will ever sell it just because of the sentimental value. But this was my mom's grandpa's fishing stuff, and this was just a small portion of it, and really what my mom could bring home with her. So there's another one, a little bit more of like a rainbow pattern. And yeah, Brandon, I think they're selling for as expensive as they are because they're so old. Maybe there's something to the brand or what, but these are in remarkably good shape. And that first one in the original packaging with the paper and all. So it's crazy to think that I could make upwards of $200 on just those two lures that I would likely never fish. But odds are that I would blow that money on something less meaningful to me. So I'm not likely to do that, but pretty wild to think how old those are and how much they're worth. So anyway, other end of the spectrum is a tiny little marabou crappie jig. Surely worth nothing. It's got these, little hand painted eyes on there. Looks like some nice marabou, but I could make this thing for less than $1. And yeah, it is what it is. Oh, there's one other saltwater bait in here, and this thing does not look nearly as cool as the Barracuda ones, but yeah, another like bucktail style. I mean, this is almost like animal hair, super heavy weight on this guy, and it looks like it's got something, some piece of like, plastic or something keeping this tail together on here. So I'm sure that's worth nothing, but still cool to see it in there. And so we're gonna work our way from, least interesting, if you will. Even though those first two, that super dude from Barracuda was super cool, but we've got an old school Rapala floating minnow, and this is just in a size 9. Um, Now who knows? Maybe this is actually worth something because it's made in this is made in Ireland, says on the bill under there, but um, yeah, it's crazy to think that like the packaging is almost the same as what you see today. So interesting. That's a bait that I throw from time to time. And now we're getting into some more interesting baits that I like maybe would actually contemplate throwing. Tim. Yeah, bucktail. Almost like animal hair. Well, I was thinking horsehair because my aunt that actually found and gave these lures to my mom uh, has a bunch of horses and gave me some horsehair to use for tying flies, and it feels very similar. But yeah, bucktail. You're right. Okay, so next up, this is the old Rebel uh craw, Rebel wee craw. I don't know exactly what it's called, but I've got some of these days that are, the modern version, but this is a very old one of them. Um, Same bait, still making it today. So I don't know if you can get this red craw pattern anymore, but it looks like it wasn't fished a whole lot. The only real thing that I noticed that's a little bit different is that this bill is kind of scooped. I don't know if it's just warped from time or if that's how they used to make the bills, but a little bit of a different bill um, design on it. Next up is a bait that some of you have probably used, but I have never used. Can you guess what this bait right here is? And no, it's not a wigglewort. You can tell from the bill. Um, what is this guy? Okay, Tom, thanks for letting me know. I mean, I don't really mind the value because I've got a bunch of those baits as it is, and I'm not really looking to sell any of these, but who knows what bait this is? No, Adam, I said it's not a wigglewort. This is smaller in stature than a wigglewort. This is not a wigglewort of any type. So it's not a short wart, Tim. Not a shallow wart, Matt. It says right under the bill here. This is a thin fin fatso. So interesting. Um, it looks so much like a wigglewort, right? I mean, the shape, the tail, the eyes, but no, this is a thin fin in a fat version. The fatso. So it's got a rattle in it. It's not as loud as a wigglewort, and it is a traditional square bill, but pretty cool bait that I actually probably would and maybe will try throwing. Looks like a pretty shallow diver, maybe somewhere in that like 2 to 5 foot range, which compared to a wigglewort is a bit shallower. You know, wigglewort tends to run in that like, well, a pretty wide range, but like 6 to 12, 6 to 14 feet. Now I've got 2 of this next bait, only 4 more baits total to show you, but these 2, I believe this bait is still in production. It's got a very one knock type of sound to it. Who knows what bait this is right here? Show you the other color. It took me a little bit of like jogging my memory and doing a little bit of research to figure out what exact bait this is, because it's not labeled on the bait, not the manufacturer or the model number. So you guys guess and tell me what you think this is. Boom. Tom Mix, this is indeed a Bomber Model A. You can tell especially because of the shape of this lip. So well done, Tom. Pretty cool bait. These things have definitely been fished, but I really love these 2 color patterns. Great craw pattern. Great baby bass pattern. So very interesting, one knock type of sound to them. But last bait in here that I've got 2 of, and when I saw this tackle box, I kind of freaked out because I don't have any of these, and obviously they're very well sought after, and it is indeed the original pre-Rapala wigglewort. Well, bam. So this guy's got the straight brown bill, classic brown craw pattern, and you know, with that red belly. So pre-Rapala, I mean, look at how obvious it is. Aside from, you know, being able to see wigglewort on the bill, it's crazy to see just how offset this bill actually is, and how messed up that mold was. You can see from the front. So I have not tested these out in the water just yet to see how appealing the action is, but pre-Rapala wigglewort from Storm. And the other color I am a big fan of, and apparently my great grandpa was too, because the line is still tied to this bad boy from I don't know how many decades ago, but wigglewort. This is a very natural craw pattern here. A little bit of red on the head. We've got that unique build that I think back in the day or these days is a little bit more translucent in the middle with the orange on the edges. But this one, not as much. It's like full orange. Maybe the orange faded on the middle part of the bill. But yeah, these baits are in pretty good condition. And I'm not selling these guys. So super jacked to now have my first 2 pre-Rapala wiggleworts, and give them a shot on the water, see what they run like, and if they're worth having a spot in my collection. The bill on this guy is also a bit offset. Not sure how well you can see that, but let's try and get it to focus for you. Yeah, you can see it kind of comes to a point there. It's not totally centered or perfectly round. So, pretty cool deal there. No, that was the first one that I showed you. Let's take a look at this one. Also, a little bit off kilter there. So, pretty sweet. I'm going to put these back in this old school box. And then I guess I am going to physically go tuck my 4-year-old into my bed because she's back down here again already. Sadie, do you want to come say hi real quick? Come over here. See if I can get you in here. I know it's a little messy over here. Hop in. Oh. Oh, okay. You see yourself on camera? Can you wave? All right, Brandon. No problem, dude. No big deal. It is a Thursday night after all, so I totally understand if and when anybody needs to leave. Chris, what's up, dude? Sadie, what's going on? Are you struggling to sleep? You need me to turn the fan on? Yeah? Okay. What's your favorite bait that you see here in front of you? What, this one? Yeah, well, one of the guys in here who's watching right now told me that I should buy this bait in this color too. This is Sadie's favorite bait on the table in front of us. Is it because of the color? Yeah. Yeah, pink, pretty blue and yellow. It's rainbow color. Like that. You can pick one other that you really like. And just which one? Just this little guy right here? I don't know. You probably could have picked a better one than that. This is a cool bait, though. No rattles in it. I could probably give you this one for your tackle box if you want. Would you want it? Maybe on a future video, I'll have Sadie on and she can show you her tackle box of all the lures that she has acquired over the last few years. Of course, none of them have hooks on them anymore because it's more of just like a box of toys that occasionally she'll pull some out and play with the rattles, or we'll identify different baits on what is what. So, guys, hang tight for me 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes, while I go tuck her in to my bed, and I will be right back. Okay, I'm gonna mute the mic so that you don't have to hear the clicking in the background. Which, by the way, Daniel, I'm thinking about getting a new microphone that might drown out that noise. And I'm not just getting the mic for that reason, but just for, an upgrade in sound quality in general. So, guys, hang tight, talk amongst yourselves. And when I get back, maybe we'll talk about iCast for a little while, since we kind of just ran through that little bit of an unboxing that we had. But we've got a while to hang out if you guys are down. So, I'll be right back. We're back. We're back. Yeah, you guys talking about the Evoke? I really need to get out there and use it as opposed to just be staring at it from time to time and talking about it when we're on this stream. I do have one of them, the other one that I had bought, that bluegill pattern, up in my car. So I either threw it one time or I meant to throw it and never tied it on. But it is a good reminder that I need to be using it. Daniel says, maybe I find a schematic, figure out how to stop the ticking for you. Yeah, probably not necessary, but that's nice of you to offer. Look for a square-like box on the circuit board to the security system, or on the maybe I'll video you sometime on Instagram, kind of like a FaceTime type of deal. See if you can step me or walk me through it, because yeah, that's annoying. And if you remember, I already ripped a few things off, um, cut some cords, and had a little sparking action going on, and that was kind of freaky. But yeah, let's talk a little bit about iCast. I'm gonna share my screen like I did last week and pull up the article from Wired to Fish, and there's a few more things in there. It's a really long article, so we're not going to go through everything because that would take us even longer than it did last time with the other one from Bassmaster, which was crazy. Okay, so let me see what this looks like on your guys' end. That looks fine. Do you think? Maybe that's a little bit better. All right. So I won't be able to see your guys' comments until I jump back and forth, but here it is. New fishing tackle for 2023 at iCast 2022. This was posted just yesterday, I guess, or maybe updated yesterday. So, yeah, Humminbird with their Mega Live Target Lock. That one best in show for what it is. I don't have a boat or live target. So, this guy here we didn't talk about yet, but looks like a really good bait. And Jacob Wheeler just posted a video on Instagram either yesterday or today, throwing this for the first time, and was super impressed and caught a fish like just on one of his first casts with the bait. So this is the newest in the series of Ott Defoe's OG line of baits. So it started with the OG 6, and then last year they released the tiny OG 4, which is a bit smaller and flatter and runs even shallower. And now this guy here, the Rocco, is a round bodied square bill. So it's still got the circuit board lip, but it's a square bill, and it's a round body, not a flat sided bait, but it is balsa. Still comes with the BMC hybrid trebles, and it runs to 5 feet, weighs 3/8 of an ounce. So pretty excited about that guy. One that we didn't talk about yet. I will say that. Anybody else pumped about the Rocco? Maybe, maybe not. The Rapala Countdown Elite. I'm not really sure what makes this different. I like the Countdown jerkbaits just fine, especially for fishing current for, panfish and trout. But okay, lead-free tungsten polymer weighting maximizes casting distance and accuracy. One piece through wire construction improves durability. That's pretty cool. It's got different color patterns, and it only comes in a size 5. Okay. Weighs 3/16 of an ounce. Oh no, it also has a size 7 that's 3 inches long and weighs 3/8 of an ounce. Right on. Looks like, a good addition to the lineup, depending on what it costs, though. Jigging shadow wrap. I don't really use a jigging wrap. Um, I would more if I ice fished, but that's really where I see it excel. And I know that ice fishing stuff has become a little bit more of a thing, but given the name Shadow, it makes it a slower fall and slower darting action. So, not a bad thing when you consider what type of bait that is. Tokyo Rig HD wide gap. So, just a heavy duty. I thought they already made that. Oh no, XLS. This looks like it's a longer wire. XL dropper arm. Interesting. So, just to keep the bait further off the bottom, but I don't know why you'd use that instead of a short leader drop shot. Looks like they made a smaller version of the Largo Shad. The Largo Shad is a good swim bait, a little bit stiff, has a fairly tight swim to it, but is a good swim bait. And there's a lot of people that swear by it, especially just as a straight swim bait on an exposed jig head. I know I've got a pack of them just right out of reach, but yeah, I like it, and I also liked the way that it looked in an underwater video from Tactical Basset. Oh yeah, and it does say this is an in between size. I forgot the fact that they make it in a 3-inch. So that reminds me that just a couple months ago, I did get this smaller size in the 3-inch, but haven't used it yet this year. Last year, I used the 4-inch a little bit, and then this year I decided to try and pick it up in the 3-inch and see how it acts. But as you can see, it's got a little bit tighter of an action, doesn't bend over too much. Has a pretty appealing action though, and you can make that action a little bit more pronounced by ripping this tail where you see that it's already got a slit in it, so you can remove a section of this tail, the bottom portion that attaches to the paddle, and then all of a sudden you've got a thinner tail that will kick a little bit harder for you. So pretty cool design. Now there's that in between size, a 3.5. It might be a little bit more of a favorite for people. I know that personally, I really like a 3.3-inch Kitech or 3.2. I forget what size they call it, but that not quite tiny size, but it's small. It's definitely smaller than a 3.8, but not nearly as small as a 2.8. So I do like that. G-Fon's got to run. All right, G-Fon, no problem, dude. Tim has never bought a Tokyo rig. You always make your own. All right, fair enough. If you make your own, then that's one thing. But I do think that a Tokyo rig has its place and can make it so that you can use it for multiple techniques at the same time. You can use it as a punching rig. You can use it in place of a Texas rig. You can use it in place of a wobble head or in place of a drop shot. So it's a useful rig for sure. But yeah, maybe you just need to throw them more often, Tim. Let's move back on to what we've got here. The new Terminator frog colors. Yeah, I like a Terminator frog. Um, but I don't know how much new colors really get me going necessarily. Revo Rocket spinning reel. We talked about that last week. I don't know why you need a 7-speed spinning reel. They cost $200. Revo X combo for $200, probably a good deal. Now the Berkeley Power Stinger did win Best in Show for best soft lure, and I'm not all that jazzed about it. I will say that it seems like a fine chatterbait trailer, but like I just mentioned, I think the Beast Coast Blade Runner might be as good or even better. And does it deserve something like Best of Show? I certainly don't think so. Uh, Now, I don't know all the products that were at ICAST or are at ICAST well enough to tell you what I think should have won Best in Show, but that is what made it. It's got that tail kind of like a Berkeley Gilly, um, or the back half of the body for a little bit more action on it, but it's a pretty standard chatterbait trailer. And it's going to cost $9 a pack for 7 of them. So pretty expensive in the way of chatterbait trailers. I'd probably just stick to a Yamamoto Seiko if I was paying top dollar for, a standard soft plastic chatterbait trailer. The Slobber Knocker we already talked about, but it won Best in Show for best hard bait. And I still don't know what to think about it. Now, one thing I didn't consider, or maybe I misspoke about last week when talking about this bait, is that it does have a little bit more action or perhaps more sound underwater than I thought it would. Um, because while it doesn't make contact with the head on the outside the way that a more traditional chatterbait, especially a jackhammer, does, um, when that blade swings all the way around, hits the head, all the way around, hits the head. This is actually the opposite. So the blade is hitting the head each time it rotates, but from the inside, not on the outside. Um, so the paint will wear off on the inside of the head, uh, between that hole in the blade and the center of the head. But I think it is still going to make some chatter. Um, so yeah, looks good. Probably sounds good. It's got that hand tied power bait infused skirt, painted blades, and all that. Good for them. Um, but $13.99 is still too expensive, and I don't see it replacing the jackhammer for me. Now, will I try it? Yeah, most likely. I don't take back what I said in that for me, I see it like I did the Thunder Cricket. Like it's just another attempt to steal some of that market share that the jackhammer has just dominated in the category because some people are maybe a little bit more loyal to Berkeley, um, or curious to try something new or slightly different. So Yeah, it is what it is. Tim, I don't know how a bladed jig is considered a hard bait. I don't know. And I completely agree that, can't help but think that there's got to be some politics involved in who's awarded what at ICAST. Um, Now, politics, I'm not sure, but it seems like the people who are voting are just a bit off. Um, it seems that Live Target and Lunker Hunt win a bunch of awards. It seems like gimmicky lures tend to win a lot of awards, and then knockoff baits are winning awards. So I don't get it either. Which is why I said at the beginning of this stream that I really don't put a lot of stock into which baits are winning these awards. So on we go. This is not a bad addition. So the Berkeley Fritz side is coming out with a clicking or rattling version of the Fritz side. So right on. There's always a time and a place for a silent bait, but also a time and a place for a rattling bait. And the Fritz side has been a silent bait up until now. So same price, maybe a few new uh, color patterns, but they say a flash disc in the bait. So a clicking sound more than a traditional rattle. So pretty cool. Not mad about that. Berkeley Juke saltwater. Okay. So the Berkeley Juke already exists. They're just now making it for saltwater applications. We're not going to talk about rods and reels really unless I see something that I really like. Now, this bait won best of show for line. Spiderwire Durabraid High Vis Yellow. I don't really know what makes it special. Uh, so it was introduced last year at ICAST 21, and now they've just released a high vis yellow, and somehow it won best of show. That seems a bit silly. And I guess all it's known for is having a 25% increased abrasion resistance. Whatever. This Plano Frog Box won best of show, and I know a lot of people talking about liking the looks of it. Personally, if I had a boat, I might be slightly interested, but probably not. When I look at my frog box, for example, um, I've definitely got to have 50 frogs in here, no problem. And this is a 3,700 size flambeau box, and it's got the moisture wicking dividers, and I don't really have a huge problem with the skirts getting all messed up. Um, and I know that that's their claim is that with this design, it's got all this moisture wicking and it protects the skirts better. But from the little bit of coverage that I've seen, the frogs are down in the box, but the skirts are all laying. Uh, they're not hanging. They're laying together in the bottom of the box. I think that that was a little misrepresented the way that those frogs hang. The frog box is not deep enough for those skirts to just lay vertical. They are down and then at an angle. So it is still totally feasible that these skirts are all going to get mixed up uh, and are going to look janky when they come out of this box. So while it looks cool, uh, I don't know how awesome I think it is. And that's just my kind of hard take on that. Plano ice rod case does not apply. Ugly stick, tough youth combo. I could see getting this for my son in a year or two. Dude's starting to walk right now, and I would imagine he'll be fishing in a year or two from now for sure. So why not have an ugly stick for a kid? If you're going to use a push button reel, I'm sure an ugly stick is a decent way to go. Whatever. Now this is a scale and grip. It's just a scale. Live scope. Live scope for ice fishing. I mean, that's cool. Who's American Hero? I don't know if those things sell well or what, but loose custom light spinning reel. I mean, this looks nice. At 159 bucks, it might be worth it. Will I get it? No. Personally, I like to stay somewhere in that like as low as 50 or as high as 100, maybe 120 bucks on a spinning reel. 160 is pretty spicy. Lose Elite Series rods, 350 bucks. Get out of here. Hyperspeed LFS. So this is a 9-speed gear ratio. 200 bucks. Lose light spinning reels or spinning rods. Okay. Mach 2 SLP. I mean, what's different about the Mach 2 series? I don't know, is SLP different than the original Mach 2? Is this a slightly lower profile version of the Mach 2? Losers making scissors and side cutters. They're late to the game on that. Everybody's jumped in that by now. Mach Smash rods. Those are not new. I guess maybe that was a combo that now they're just doing rods. An IM6 blank. 59 bucks makes them cheap, but don't see myself getting that. This is that $500 reel we talked about. The Pro TI SLP. That looks better than that to me. But it's the new Pro TI, almost 400 bucks. Still not getting it. All right, so these are crappie stuff, I assume, if it's wally or walleye. Okay, a Strike King Chick Magnet Junior. I'm not mad about that. The Chick Magnet is a bait that I like. And so having a downsized version, it seems like they're one step behind the OG series of baits. What, next year they'll put out a Chick Magnet Square Bill. Whatever. Striking Filler Worm. Looks like a hand poured straight tail worm. Is that Robo Worm? Are they just pulling a missile baits? I mean, it's the OPT technology, so they've already got a couple baits in their soft plastic lineup. This is just a new shape. Drop shot, shaky head, Nico rig. Sounds about right. KVD Elite jerk bait. I didn't think this was new. I don't know what's new about it, but it's a $15 jerk bait. I think they released it at the Bassmaster Classic and now are maybe throwing it in the showcase at ICAST as well. Marabou sausage spin. Strike King Rage Menace Worm. There's a couple baits out there like this. I don't really see a place for myself using this. It really just looks like they took a couple baits and put them together. Um, I don't see myself using that. Daniel, you're right that there's too many good Daiwa reels in that 50 to $100 to pay 160 for lose. I'm with you on that. Matt says, to be honest, I think the new Rocco is kind of lame. What's so special besides the computer board lip? There's plenty of balsa square bills out there that have a computer board lip. Um, there are, but the price point of this guy is going to be lower, and I don't know. It's Rapala. Maybe you're right that it's not all that unique, aside from the fact that Ott Defo designed it, um, and it'll be a $10 bait. So sure, if Bagley is your deal, uh, then by all means throw Bagley. But this is to compete in that market that is mass produced, not handmade balsa baits. And I'm sure it's going to have a different action than, a Bagley or something like that. But I couldn't tell you. So you make a valid point, but I'm still going to try it. Brock Taylor, uh, no worries that you're late. Dude, the toes are all healed. Nothing to worry about. My toes are good. So, yeah, thanks for the concern, though, dude. Tim says there were truly a lot of truly awesome baits this year at ICAST. I may not be the best fisherman, but I know a fair amount about baits. I'd love to know who voted for the slobber knocker. Clowns. Yeah, I think something like the Spro KGB or the Shimano. What's that fold up swim bait of theirs? Definitely look good. There's a bunch of baits that look good in the hard bait category. So yeah, I don't know who's voting for what, but anyway, that they say they're mixing the cutter worm, the menace grub to make this Rage Menace worm, and I think it looks like whatever. Rage Scoundbug looks good, but 3.5 inches seems just like it's barely a variation of what they released last year in the mid-size Rage Bug. Maybe just a slightly thicker body in here, but yeah, I don't know. It's more of a rounded body. So then when they say uh, that it's got a thicker base to increase durability on a Texas rig or as a trailer, yeah, but whatever. Um, I don't know that I'm gonna just stock up on those for a slight increase in durability. And look at this, Strike King kind of ripping off the idea that Guggen Baits did with the Rattlin' Chunk and the Rattlin' Ned, is now that they're putting a rattle into the Rage Craw, molded in. Who would have known that someone would rip off the Guggen Squad? But I suppose it's about time. Matt says, but Tyler, if you had a choice between a custom made hand balsa bait for 15 to 17 bucks, and there's some out there for that price, or an $11 Rocco, what would you go with and why? Um, That's a good question. It depends on how they run, right? Because first of all, I think you're trying to bridge the gap a little bit too much. On average, a custom handmade balsa bait is going to run closer to $20. So really, it's more like half the price. So you could get two Roccos for one custom handmade balsa. Um, and I think it's a little bit challenging because um, some some of those baits don't always run true. Now you would hope that a custom handmade balsa bait has been tuned and tested and should run well straight out of the pack. But I think it's more predictable that a Rapala balsa bait is going to run the way that you would hope than a handmade balsa bait. Um, so that's just my opinion. Um, but also, you guys know that I didn't really go down the rabbit hole of balsa baits or um, really expanding my horizon when it comes to square bill crankbaits until just the last year or two. So I haven't quite gotten to the point of seeing a place for high end, homemade, um, handmade, custom balsa baits, regardless of the profile. I just haven't gotten down that road yet. So I might change my mind on that down the road. And sure, if you could find some of those, like do Black Label or UMA, make their baits for 15 to 17 bucks, because I didn't think they did. A lot of those baits you'd be spending over $20 for. So if there was a predictable action on a handmade balsa bait for 15 to 17 bucks, yeah, I'd probably go with those over a Rocco. Uh, but I don't know. We'll see. Uh, Brock says, however, if it runs good, if you put custom hooks in the baits, you're at the same price. I mean, I don't know what hooks these handmade baits are coming with. Don't some of them not even come with hooks on them? Some of them come with good hooks. Some of them maybe not as good. I like those VMC hybrid trebles just fine, and am not likely to change them out. I completely agree, Matt, and that's why I just made that point. Is that if I was going to get a custom made balsa bait, I would want it to already be tuned. Uh, I know a lot of guys don't mind doing that themselves, but I would want it to run right straight out of the pack if I'm paying that kind of money. I'd also want it to be stocked with legit treble hooks straight out of the pack as well. I don't want to upgrade stuff or tune stuff if I'm paying that kind of money, but that's just me. All right, so the hybrid hunter is now going to come in a shallow version. I'm not mad about that because I always thought that the hybrid hunter runs just a little bit deeper than it should. Now, I hope that they're going to make this in both the sizes, because you guys know I prefer the hybrid hunter junior a little bit better than the original. Uh, but they're going to make one that runs 1 to 3 feet. So that's pretty cool. Crappie, Strike King tungsten casting jig. Okay. Where the hell's the line tie on that thing? Is it sealed shut? New tube head from Strike King for cracking a tube. Makes it look more like a goby. Okay, Magnum shaky head. That's not even a Magnum if it's got a 3/0 hook. Tungsten Thunder Cricket. Okay. I probably won't throw that. Looks like they could have sealed this eye shut a little bit better where the blade goes on. But it's 17.99. See, that's a problem for me. I'm not paying that extra $4 or $5 just for the tungsten head on a jig. Strike King Zeus worm. It's a curly tail. What's special about it? Extra soft plastic formulation. Maximum action on this thin 9.5-inch worm with a ribbon tail. All right, so it's a skinny 9.5-inch ribbon tail worm. I feel like I'd have to see it to know if it's worth taking a look at. Depends on how thin it is. We already talked about this bait. I wish this came pre-rigged with a stinger or something that you could buy as like an add-on to have that stinger, because I like the fact that they've got that uh, set up to make running a stinger easy. But they should have just done what Savage Gear already did with having the stinger already rigged on there. So 6-ounce bait, 9 inches long. This is no joke. It's a massive thumper, a trout swim bait. Looks pretty good. $35. Not cheap, not crazy. We talked about this walking bait from 13. I don't really care to learn what the deal is. It's $14. That's too much. There's a whole bunch of reels out this year. I mean, that's a cool look on the handles and stuff, but what a random price. $144. Patented keeper hook keeper. Whoop-de-doo. Arrowhead line guide. Doesn't look special. There's the G-Man stuff. Inceptionist. D2. Why are they putting out so many reels? Take it easy, 13. Good God. Hey, can't stop, won't stop. 13 going hard in the paint, yo. That is enough. Daiwa Exist, $859. Daiwa Tatula CT combo for $229. That's too much for what it is. Had they priced it at $160, $180, I mean, I think it would have been the deal, but that's too expensive. Tatula XT rods for $99. That'll probably sell well. Bill Belichick hoodie. Okay, now I hope that this new Nico bait, Nico crawler bait from Daiwa Yamamoto is better than their first couple attempts at a Nico rigged worm, because I did not like either of those baits, the fat or the original. They say this hybridizes them. I should have just said it's an all new worm instead of trying to pretend like either of those were good baits. I'm going to skip over all these Yo-Zuri baits. Even though I love Yo-Zuri, this 3DR-X is just it's a new foil prism finish inside the bait. And they put it into like all these different profiles. So we already talked about that. And I swear last year I purchased this exact thing. They're acting like this is new, to buy the white super braid in 150 and 300 yard spools. No, I'm 98% certain I already bought that. Let me catch up on these comments. I'm sorry, guys. Brock says, if you're tournament fishing, when you get a bait that runs awesome, you just catch hundreds of bass. Have to change hooks. Um, yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing with that. Whoa, Matt, that sounds pretty cool. TK Stanley's dropping some balsa walking baits that Marty Burns made. That does sound amazing. Yeah, Brock, why is it that 13's releasing so many damn reels in the same year? It's kind of ridiculous. I have no idea what's going on there. Whoops, my bad. Good for you, Tim. I'm not a diehard cranker, so no, I don't test and tune before I get to work. I'll tune if I have to, but I just kind of assume that it's going to run right. No, I'll test, but I don't test and tune just like it's clockwork. I don't always do it. Daniel says I did order one of the Tatula XT spinning rods today. Were they in stock or did you pre-order it? Matt says three baits that I'm interested in are the Spro Chad, Shimano Arma joint. That's the one I was talking about, and the Black Label Wobbler crank. I'm with you on those first two for sure. Yeah, the Yozuri Super 8 is a really good braid. I also like it. I pretty much use it and the Suffix 832 these days. Both are affordable and really good braids. Haven't really had much of any issues with them like I've had with Power Pro in the past. I've had less problems with the Power Pro V2 Slick than the original Power Pro, but still, Suffix 832 and the Yozuri uh, Super Braid are definitely ones that I like. No, Matt, I'm not sure. I might have, but I should have lit that one on fire, dude. That was a big one. All right, moving right on. Yozuri 3DB 1.5 Square Bill and Mid Runner. Just new colors. Hardcore Bullet 5 Plus Dakota lithium batteries. Cashin rods. BFS rods. Okay. Freedom Shaky Head. Talked about these spinner baits. I like the blade, but not the head. Meant for burning. Tailspin from Freedom. There's that Cloverleaf knockoff bill. Bait fuel. Okay, so the net bait fuel products I'm interested in. Mostly just because they're good drop shot profiles, at least in the STH line of baits. So the crush worm is one of them. Now the dagger, this is a flipping bait or a punch bait rather. Looks interesting. I like how it's got this, thin body and then the or skinny thick portion of the body, and then it's a little bit more narrow. So I think it'd be a good punch bait. Dagger. That's a stick bait. No comment. Junior crush worm, another drop shot bait. Lollipop, that looks like a flatworm mixed with a crosstail shad. Neutrally buoyant. Okay, mega bopper, that's a swimming worm. That's a toad. So those were not the profiles that I was talking about or most excited about. Maybe those are new profiles or something, but there are other bait fuel infused net bait products that I'm excited to try that I thought were new that they're not showing there. Snag proof frog, scum frog. There's that Hellraiser. Now that we've seen a little bit more footage of it, I am intrigued, but I can't say that that I'm gonna pick one up anytime soon. Of course, Griff from the Hookup said that he feels like it's right up his alley, but that's because it's weird and he's weird and he loves weird lures. Uh, it's so skinny at the nose, and that rear treble behind the blade leads me to believe that the hookup ratio is going to be sacrificed a bit by that blade. So you're going to have fish eating the bait in order to get them hooked. So I just don't know about that bait, but the action and the way that it walks slash acts like a chatterbait on the surface looks interesting. And, I think Ben from the hookup made a good point in saying Z Man doesn't usually just come out with something that's so far out of left field and is a shitty lure. So there's got to be something to it. There's got to be a reason that they made it the way they did. And I know that the original inventor of the chatterbait is the guy who's responsible for the design of the bait, but it must have been good enough for Z-Man to put their name on it and want to release it. And quite honestly, I'm surprised it didn't win Best in Show for Hard Lure over the Slobber Knocker. All right, Daniel. Well, let us know what you think of the rod once you actually have it, because for that price point, it seems interesting for sure. Well, Matt, yeah, you can tell us a little bit more about that braid tomorrow. Um, I'd be more interested to know about it if it's at an affordable price tag. Tim says it's extremely important to tune your crankbaits, not just once, but a lot throughout the day. That can be the difference between catching a big bag and not even getting bit. Uh, I appreciate the advice for sure. And that is something that I should pay closer attention to. So thank you for mentioning that, Tim. Yeah, no, that was my point too, Matt. But we've talked about how that blade actually it will fold over. So looking at it, it seems like it would definitely be a hindrance with hookup ratio, but I guess it's possible that it won't be all that much. I'm not sure. All right. Okay, here come their micro baits, micro TRD, tiny ticklers. So these are 1 3/4 inch versus the original Ned baits that are 2 3/4 inches. Same price where you get 8 in a pack for $5. The stingers, it's an interesting profile. Shad fries. Don't see myself using that one as much. Larva. That looks pretty wild. Is it smaller? No, it's 1 3/4 inches. That's a pretty big larva. Um, but I'm sure it'll get bit pretty well. Anyway, one thing that I will mention is that while it's cool that Z-Man's making this line of micro Elastec baits, I'm also kind of bummed for Ethan over at Online Outdoorsman, who owns Mule Fishing. You guys probably are familiar with his brand. He's a fellow ambassador at Discount Tackle, and someone that I've always gotten along with over social media. I think he's a really good guy, and I think he was truly doing something unique by having an elastomer style line of crappie and panfish baits before anybody else did. And now Z-Man's just really kind of crowding that market that he had been establishing. So I feel bad for him and am hopeful that it won't really affect his business by too much now that Z-Man has released all of these baits that are kind of crowding his market, if you will. Now, I mentioned I am interested in this finesse swim jig because now they say it's got a 3/0 hook on it. That's bigger than I would have thought, but they say the baby goat or the slim swims sounds like, the 3-inch minnows would be a great bait to throw on the back of that thing. Quite frankly, either one of Z-Man's finesse swim baits, the 3-inch minnows or the 3-inch slim swims, would both be good options to throw on the back of that little finesse swim jig of theirs. Tim's got to get out of here. No problem, dude. Have a great rest of your night. Check us out tomorrow night. I'm going to be on with Matt tomorrow night. We'll be talking about a variety of stuff. All right. I know there's 15 people in here still, so we're just going to kind of roll through this a little bit faster. Goat Toads is not new. I've got that exact bait right here in front of me. Probably going to be a good one. $5 for a 3-pack puts it at much more affordable than the Savage Gear Duratec Toad, and it seems to be designed a little bit better where you could use it as a more versatile, more durable, toad that you fish on the surface like a buzz toad, or that you rig on a little bit more of a belly weighted hook and you swim faster, or you throw it on the back of a buzz bait, and it could do all those things well. Whereas that Duratac toad, not quite as well. The SMH worm was released like a year ago. I don't know why it's in the conversation right now, as well as their SMH head, shaky head setup. The Hercules swim bait, not new either. And we got some apparel. I don't even know who Gruden's is. Gruden's. Jenko. So Jenko's got some soft plastics. The bird. That looks like a mix between a craw and a toad. Didn't Fish Lab come out with a bird style soft plastic bait this year too? Thought I saw that yesterday. Tube heads, real oil. Okay, we talked about some of these Nomad baits a week or two ago when I opened some of them. Of course, they're not going to show any of the baits that I showed you guys. Realtree. Eagle Claw's got some bass rods that are actually supposed to be decent coming out. That I'm not mad about that. Probably won't try them, but they seem cool. Tokyo Rig kit from Eagle Claw. Costa glasses. Yamamoto Ned Senko. I tried that out for the first time today. I liked it well enough. It's not quite as buoyant as they claim, but it is definitely neutrally buoyant. I threw the watermelon moon dust color, not this one. This is the Okeechobee Craw, but it's definitely more buoyant than a Senko, right? But it doesn't stand straight up like elastomer baits or like some other baits, like the Yum Ned baits or the X Zone Ned Zone. Doesn't do that. Matt says, "Are you able to see the hookup tackle video and just narrate over the products that they show?" Yeah, I think I could do that. Why do you ask? Well, you want to do that now or you want to do that tomorrow? Um, this is called Purple Death. It is a sick color. They make it in a lot of different baits, and I've liked it for quite some time. You know, I've run through a couple packs of these in this color over the last couple of years, which is saying something considering how durable these baits are. Um, but Purple Death, it's a pretty wicked color. Tim, I thought you said you had to go. You were just saying, oh, okay, my bad, Tim. Last week, you're talking about the Z-Man. Got it, got it, got it. Yeah, Matt, that's not a bad price, but also not a great price. The Ozuri braid's a lot cheaper than that. You know, honestly, we've been on for an hour and 50 minutes, and the hookup tackles video is 2 hours long. So I'm not going to do that right now, but that's not a bad idea. I might do that Saturday. There's a very good chance that I'm going to stream 3 nights in a row. So thank you for the heads up and the suggestion, but I probably won't do that right now. Yeah, Tim. Wright McGill is the original company. And yeah, they're yellow, kind of nasty. They're local here to Denver. I almost went to work for them like a year ago. Adam says, Tyler, I know off topic, but what's your favorite 3-inch and 5-inch soft plastic swim baits? So that's a little bit broad of a question, but you know, in the 3-inch range, it depends on the technique. So I like the 3-inch Spark Shad on the Okashira screwhead. Uh, I like the 3-inch minnows from Z-Man that I was just showing you on an exposed jig head, just as a straight swim bait. I think they call it the Z-Man Trout Eyes jig head. For the 5-inch diesel minnows, it's called like the Redfish Eye jig head. And then I like a uh, a Kitech 3.3 just on like a Gamakatsu round ball jig head. Those are probably my three go-tos when it comes to a 3-inch soft plastic swim bait. And 5-inch, um, I feel like I throw a lot of 4.5-inch, but I've been wanting to really get into the Bariki shad, but I can't speak to that yet. In the 5-inch range, I like the Scottsboro 5-inch. 4.5-inch, I really like the Optimum Baby Boom Boom. So a little bit smaller than 5. And yeah, probably just a Kitech 4.8 has been a staple for me for a long time. But right in that 4.5-inch size, I also like the Whale from Strike King or from 6th Sense. But otherwise, I kind of step up to the 6-inch with the Mag Draft. So yeah, it's interesting that I just completely left the 5-inch Spark Shad out of that conversation, but it's kind of gotten downgraded for me uh, due to durability and the action. It kind of runs a little bit more uh, straight than I would like it to. But it's a good question, Adam. No problem, Tim. Sorry, you got a new huge tablet. That's pretty sweet, dude. Sorry that you've been battling it though. I completely agree, Matt. There's more stuff in the video actually at iCast than you see in these preview deals that we were looking at from Bassmaster and that we're looking at from Wired to Fish tonight. So I'm with you on that. Oh, I'm not sharing. Let's go back to this and just kind of fly through and see if there's anything else. Oh, so this is a Senko. What do they call this? A Slinko. Yamamoto with a ribbed Senko. That's pretty wild. And now multiple sizes of the shad-shaped worm. So you guys know I'm a big fan of the shad-shaped worm, but forever it's been a 4-inch bait. So to now have that same profile in a 3-inch size is cool for sure. To use for the same type of deal on a drop shot, I'm down with that. Speed Senko, I don't think they needed to do that, but everybody else has a swimming worm, so why not hop on it? They're like, oh, it's different than a swim Senko, different than a cut tail. Yeah, I guess. 3-inch Seiko, I don't see much of a need for that. The 4-inch is perfect on a chatterbait, so I don't see myself using a 3-inch Seiko. 5-inch shad-shaped worm. That seems a little big in my eyes, but I guess it could make a good spinnerbait trailer. Could make a I wouldn't throw it on a chatterbait. I don't know. I'm not gonna throw that on a drop shot probably. The 4-inch is just so good. Bill Lewis ATV square bill. I mean, I'd try that in a 1.0, no doubt. But it's probably gonna be like $7 or $8. Bill Lewis scope stick. So Bill Lewis is now coming out with a jerk bait. and a 100 and a 120. A floating, a suspending, deeper suspending, a sinking model. Wow, they're just coming straight out of the gate with the jerk bait. Well, good for them. Seaguard Gold Label. It's ridiculously expensive for a 50-yard spool. Smackdown braid. Panfish rods from St. Croix. Walleye rods. Shotgun rods. Muskie rods. Walleye rods. Now, look at this. St. Croix selling a combo now with a reel on it. And it was funny to hear the guys over at the Hookup talking about just how crappy that reel is and how interesting it is that St. Croix is now getting into the reel game. So now this right here is the Shimano Armor Boost or Arma Boost, and it looks legit. Oh, Matt, you make a good point. Maybe that 3-inch is for the Mini Max or for a chatterbait with a shorter hook on it. Yeah, I could see that. But so far, I've just, I find that the baby goat from Z-Man works great on it. So reasonable point, though. Thanks for pointing that out. So the Arma Boost is a cool deal. One, it's got the flash boost, scale boost, all that stuff in it. But this is a double jointed swim bait. So one where a typical glide bait would have one, and then one in the back that doesn't do a whole lot. But this front joint will fold in half. Like it bends really far, and it has a magnet system in it that will make the bait stay folded up on the cast and make casting really solid. So casting distance will improve, and it will not helicopter in the air, which is a really cool idea. So I'm interested in this bait. It's going to retail for $42.99, so not cheap, but not crazy. Looks interesting. Shimano's got a spinnerbait coming out. Oh yeah, I think I saw this. So this is actually kind of a cool idea that they're going to have thick wire leading from the head up to the bend. And then after the bend, where the blade is, or where both the blades are, is going to be a thin wire. So you get durability that you would get from a thicker wire, and then you get the thump that you would get from a thinner wire. So well thought out. They've got the weights written or stamped on the head. Bait keeper, short hook. Looks interesting. World Pop's not new. Corrado DC 200. Bantam A. New X Pride. Miravel. This is what's going to get a lot of attention, is that Shimano's making a new spinning reel to target people at that lower price point of $130. But essentially they're putting the body of the old CI4 into this Miravel. And so you're going to get some high-end technology in a reasonably priced spinning reel. So my guess is that that thing will do well. I don't know if I will get it, but new SLX rods, I guess, same price point. New Flambeau clear boxes. They're trying to do the modular design with these Flambeau boxes. Lunker Hunt with a drop shot bait. They say Nico Rig shaky head soft jerk bait. Ned rig bladed jig. That's too much, Lunker Hunt. This looks interesting, but not a new concept. Although they say this is for top water finesse fishing. I don't know. It's hard to take Lunker Hunt seriously, you know. It's like there might be some validity to what they're creating there, but skip it. Oh, the guys at the hookup were real pissed about this. You know, Chris Zaldane just creating a mag draft copy for Bass Mafia. And really, it's for the Guggen squad, but Bass Mafia is under the same brand, under the same parent company. So I guess they're able to do it through Bass Mafia and not Guggen Squad, and save the Guggen Squad a little bit of hate. Notice that there's zero information about this swim bait. It's going to come in two sizes. We're scrolling. Culprit with a couple of new worms. Biospawn, we talked about that. Do It Molds, transparent. I mean, that looks like a legit jig from Do It Molds. Dual Realis Rosante wake bait. That looks legit. That reminds me of like the Jackal Mikey. Wriggle stick. T-Hog. What is that, a free rig bait? Looks a lot like that Jackal bait that I just picked up, the Honey Nugget. Evergreen. Shadow Wrap style bait. Big Bite Baits. Chatterbait trailer. We talked about these last week. This net won best of show because it's a net and because you can weigh your fish and measure them. Cool. Gamakatsu Tokyo rig. A floating 175 from Depths. Okay. Chunky D still looks good to me. Magic Worm still looks good to me. Very Japanese looking spinnerbait from Spro. CJ Smasher. We talked about all these Spro baits. Now we can actually see pictures of the KGB Chad collab. Those look legit. Gonna be good. Excited about it. Spro Outsider looks mean and interesting, but I want to try their shallow diver. So I think Spro is probably the most active company in the bait game this year at ICAST. Fish Lab. Hearing Bill Siementel talk about this bait the other day didn't necessarily change my opinion about it. I'm still interested in checking it out, and I'm still a little bit skeptical. mean, gosh, in the pictures, it looks like these hooks are hung on each other, but I think this bait has the potential to be good and maybe worth the 21.99. The new 4-piece BBZ shad style bait, but it's a 6-inch, which is cool, and I think it's going to be affordable. Comes with BKK treble hooks on it. I didn't know that was coming, and it looks pretty decent, so I'll probably try it at some point. They made some adjustments to their wake bait that that already existed. This has more of a shad profile, probably a little bit better swimming action. And then Fish Lab has some interesting soft plastics. Like, look at this freaking larva, flutter nymph. This is a 4-inch, 3.5, and a 4.5. This is a big nymph, if you ask me. But it looks kind of cool. Like you could Ned rig it or throw it on a shaky head or on a drop shot. It's got like all these paddles on the wings. So as you pull that through the water, it's probably got a lot of like kicking, swimming action. They say you can also flip with it. I don't know. I mean, it looks like an interesting bait. Um, what did I miss? Sorry, guys. You guys are flying in the comments, and I did not even look. So Matt says Chris got a ton of backlash for that bait on the internet. I left an honest comment on Tackle Warehouse video of him showing it off. Well, good for you. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think we should be honest. I think he does deserve some backlash for creating a mag draft, and I'm sure he's got a deal with Bass Mafia and is probably making some money off of the creation of that bait and potentially the sales that bait will generate. Uh, but it's just kind of a dirty move when he could just continue throwing the mag draft because I'm sure he's got like hundreds of them, but he didn't need to do that. Uh, Matt says the bait sanity top water glide bait is dumb, to be honest. There were some cool things about it, but for $139, I don't know about all that. Uh, yeah, I don't even know if I saw that. I didn't finish the hookups video yet, so I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely does look more like a dragonfly. Um, like full blown. Not it's not a nymph, I'll tell you that much. But looks interesting. Tim, this is called the Fish Lab Nature Series Flutter Nymph. Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting. Hobie, 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 making glasses. Pants, shorts. I'm a little stick, a small version called the baby stick. Probably pretty good. Kistler making reels now. Don't want to talk about that. Mustad with new trebles. This is the Nishini jig that I loved the explanation of how this bait acts, um, and the fact that it's a cover jig, and so the unique shape of the head and the placement of the line tie allows this thing to fall straight over the edge of cover, um, better than others. So the guy was explaining that instead of uh, falling down at kind of an angle, that this thing will just drop off and fall straight down, almost like you'd get with a free rig or something of the sort, with the way that that line tie will kind of roll and drop the bait straight to the bottom. So definitely looks like a good jig and worth trying at $6.50 with hand tied skirts, wire tied. Looks good. Here's that Erie jerk bait top water. So this is meant to be a top water bait, but it's in the profile of a jerk bait, right? And so pre-spawn as a dead sticking bait, post-spawn as more of a dip and dive type of bait. Gentle pulls, letting it float back up to the surface. Only goes down a foot or two. Definitely looks like an interesting bait. And there could certainly be a time and a place for it. So, not a lot of floating jerk baits out there that are high end and have that look to them. I'm curious to see what it's like. Frog Togs, hard in the paint. Frog Togs, Ocean Waves. Now Scottsboro with a pre-rigged top hook swim bait looks interesting, but I don't know that I would pay $12.99. It's a 5.5-inch bait, but it comes with an owner Zowire flipping hook built into it. So might be worth it. Probably worth it. Sims makes good stuff, but is expensive. Lure Lock, Waterwood custom baits. I swear I just came across their stuff the other day. And I don't remember how. Custom wood baits. That one looks good. Speedwaker. Popper. Nice. Prop bait. Talked about that nickel spinner bait. Okay, Bomber Flat A and Bomber Model A. We talked about that bad boy. Fat free. I think we're almost there. Speed End Junior. I want to try the Speed End, but now knowing that there's a Speed End Junior, I'm even more excited to try it. That's not a new announcement, though. That's been on the radar all year this year. Speaking of radar, forward-facing sonar minnow. Interesting. So it's a drop shot bait that they're taking advantage of the name forward-facing sonar. Talked about that. Just a larger version of the Ned Zone meant for Nico rigging. Guggen Squad Grub. Double tail grub. Guggen Squad Tube. Guggen Squad Chatterbait trailer. Guggen Squad Lizard. You know, honestly, none of those look awesome to me. The double tail grub probably looks best of them, but I'm not jazzed about any of those. Guggen Squad crappie baits. That miniature bandito bug's probably the only one that like gets my attention, but I'm not likely to throw any of these. Looks like they just took their baits and made them tiny, right? Bandito bug, the Mondo worm or whatever, their fluke style bait. I don't know what they call it, and their swim bait, the saucy swimmer. They just made them all tiny. Their fluke was called the dart. Bump and bug, chubby grubby, dangle dart, and a snacky swimmer. Okay. G Loomis. Boom. We did it. We made it. We got through it. Yeah, Matt, that's been known for a while, but when are they actually going to be available? I mean, Tackle Warehouse has been saying for over a year now. I mean, they've been just pushing back the date of when they would be in stock. So that's not new news, but I don't know when it's going to be a thing. Yeah, Tim, you're right. The jig that Nishini had before their open water jig didn't have a weed guard and was more of a football head instead of that new shape. But yeah, definitely a lot of thought and attention to detail goes into their stuff. I would agree with that. Matt, was what a walker? Was what a walker? I'm trying to look. I don't know what you were just looking at. It was a wake bait. Oh, yeah, it was. Yeah, let's pull that back up. Walking bait. There was one up there. Okay, so we're back at Waterwood. Yes. Smooth Criminal. Compact package, 3 treble hooks, walks exceptionally. In fact, it may be the easiest walking topwater ever made. So, yeah, 4 inches, half ounce, and comes with 3 treble hooks. Probably worth a look. Doesn't tell us a price tag, but yeah, that's a wooden topwater walking bait. All right, we've been on 2 hours and 22 minutes. It is late for a Thursday night. So, Adam, I'm with you, dude. Um, we should hit the hay. We should all hit the hay. All right. Uh, Tim, you're right. With a lot of things, especially gear related, you do need to splurge. Sims makes super high quality gear, and so yeah, it's like my waders that I have for fly fishing are Sims, as are my boots, and I would not change that at all. Um, you got to think of those things as an investment for sure. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up button for me. Um, come back later. Come back tomorrow. Leave a comment. As for what you thought about tonight's show, tonight's discussion, some of the old school lures that I got from my great grandpa, a couple of pre-Rapala wiggle warts, and some of these Barracuda super dudes. I mean, how cool is that? So, thank you guys for hanging out. Hope you have a great rest of your night, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. I'm gonna have Matt on, and we're gonna, you know, be unboxing some stuff. All right. Brock says, "You can't make us. We can watch it again and again. We're not going anywhere." All right. See you guys tomorrow. Appreciate you very much. Peace.